What is up, Colts Nation? It is Josh Hudgens with the Common Colt Podcast, a Colts show where we talk Colts football in 10 minutes or less. So let's get that timer going and let's talk Colts versus Texans instant reaction. If you're not familiar with the show, we got the topics there on the right side of the screen, starting with our one-word reaction to today's game. It's got to be disappointment. For me, I felt like as I was watching that game, the frustration, the disappointment was just building so much, and then they ultimately lost. Everything about that game I was frustrated about from, I felt like, the first drive and on. And I'll talk about that right now. Let's talk about the officiating. I think everybody is talking about it on social media. I've even seen some commentators talking about it. Tony Dungy, former Colts coach, talking about how bad the officiating was that game. And here's my take on the officiating, because I think this has to be addressed. Did the Colts lose this game because of the officiating? I think that's a major contributor. And I'm not the person who typically wants to point the finger at the refs. You won't catch me doing that very often, if at all. I do understand that there's going to be human error often in officiating, and the speed at which these players play is at an impressive rate. And we, the fans, have an awesome seat from our couch, watching it 4K, high resolution, super slow motion on these plays that should or shouldn't be flagged. So I do like to have some grace for the officials. But at the same time, you get paid to do a job. And I have felt in the last 5 to 10 years in the NFL, the officiating in which they call games is inconsistent. It's tic-tacky. It's NBA-ish, where the amount of pass interference calls, illegal contact calls happen to almost make the sport borderline unwatchable, whether it's for the Texans or for the Colts. In this game, it felt like the Colts got the lesser end of the stick, but it feels like every time a big play happens, interception, pass breakup, whatever the case may be, you're paused because you're like, oh, wait, is there a flag or not? That's what it feels like when I watch the game, any game, Colts game or not, and I hate that. Obviously, we had the missed kick, extra point that they called good. They explained the reasoning behind that. The pass interference was a big one. The delay of game was a big one. And it all just kind of, I felt like, combined into a major contributor on why the Colts lost today. When it's a close game against two evenly matched teams, things like that happen. Now, that said, is it the only reason the Colts lost today? And that answer is no. A great team, an elite team, can find a way to overcome that. And we didn't do that today. And let's talk about that, starting with the offense and starting with the offensive line, who absolutely got demolished today. The amount of big hits on Daniel Jones, and by the way, none of this loss falls on Daniel Jones as far as I'm concerned. He wasn't top tier today, but the amount of hits he took, broken fractured fibula, the accurate passes he's putting down, getting backed up in certain situations, despite some bad play calling, and I'll talk about that in a second. Bad offensive line play, some drops from Josh Downs. All in all, the offense played terrible. I thought Daniel Jones was one of the only ones that showed up today in spite of all that. So, again, we can blame officiating, but what did we do to overcome that? And I can't say the offensive line did a whole lot. I can't say Josh Downs did a whole lot. Heck, I can't even say Shane Steichen did a whole lot either. And we'll talk about that when I get to coaching. Defense, they did similar to what they did against the Chiefs. They held the Texans to a lot of field goals. We only scored 16 points, I think it was, on offense. Under 20 points, at the very least. I think the defense, they lost Sauce Gardner. They don't have DeForest Buckner. At times, they couldn't get off the field, but they kept us in a game when I think we had 2 or 3 punts to start the game, and the offense was slow to start. The defense held us in the game. They had a big turnover, which kept us in it. So I can't fault the defense a whole lot, is what I'm saying. Yes, there was moments where I wish they would have played better, but we had some injuries. Offense was not playing their best. So I can't necessarily pin this on the defense. I would like to pin it a lot on our coaching staff. Shane Steichen, who at times has masterclass coaching performances and at times has complete duds, specifically with play calling. And nothing frustrates me more about the Colts and Shane Steichen. And in my opinion, nothing frustrates me more, and nothing will prevent the Colts from winning a playoff game or even making the playoffs more than this. The rhythm in which Shane Steichen calls plays. At times, it's super pass happy, and at times, it's super run happy until they get stuffed. And I think Shane Steichen needs to find a way, especially at the beginning of games, to get in a rhythm, passing and running. Too often it's been pass happy, and I would love to see running the ball, play action passes, some more RPO rollout boot passes on play action, something to get in a rhythm. Too often do we get backed up, long yardage, third down situations because we're looking down the field to make a statement. We want to receive the ball to start games and overtime apparently every time and make a statement. Like, can we not just like get a little run pass rhythm going where the defense is back on their heels like they were earlier in the season? Because we didn't know if Daniel Jones was going to sling the rock and we didn't know if Jonathan Taylor was going to rip off 10 yards. I could tell you right off the start of these games right now, it's passing. And like, we just need to chill with that for a second and try to mix it up. Just try to be in rhythm early. There was times in this game where I could feel like we were in rhythm. That touchdown drive we had second, third quarter, I mean, they were heating up there, but we're coming out flat with the play calling, in my opinion, trying to, I think, make a statement or prove a point, and it's just not working. I like Daniel Jones. I think he's a solid player. I think he's competent enough to win some playoff games, but not with bad play calling. We've got to get that fixed. That was a big contributor to our slow start and why we could not overcome the officiating. Game ball, right? If we win, who's the game ball going to? If we lose, who's it going to? Well, I call this the Curtis Painter game ball. That's what I call it. When we lose, who's getting the Curtis Painter game ball award? Offensive line. The hits on Daniel Jones today were insane. You get a game ball, everybody except for Quentin Nelson. Oh, and by the way, Shane Steichen, you get a game ball. I gave you a lot of roses throughout this season so far, especially early on. Guess what, Shane? You're getting a Curtis Painter game ball today because the play calling is atrocious. The play calling at the beginning of the game is atrocious. And that leaks in from the end of the last game against the Chiefs, which was atrocious. So we've got about 2 or 3 straight quarters now of bad play calling from Shane Steichen from fourth quarter, overtime, and first quarter of this game. That has to stop now. So he gets a Curtis Painter Game Ball Award. That's just how I have to see it. So what's the outlook for the Colts? In my opinion, we still have everything in front of us. We have a lot more divisional games left to go. We got the Jaguars coming up. We play the Texans again later this season. We have a tough schedule, though. 49ers are on the schedule. Seahawks are on the schedule. We have some tough games. So what's the outlook? Well, I certainly don't feel as peachy as I did about 6 weeks ago, but I still have hope that these games are winnable. There's tic-tacky play calls here, officiating call here or there. Heck, if that extra point was actually no good, that last drive we had, we could kick the field goal and tied it up, and then who knows what happens. It is such a game of inches. Even against the Chiefs, we had them on the ropes. So we're right in these games. We're not getting outclassed. To me, what it feels like for the Colts right now is they're hitting a bit of a growth spurt. And you're either going to grow or you're going to shrink. And what this team has to do is, to me, it feels like a team that is capable of winning these games against good teams, but they just haven't done it yet. So you've got to take a couple on the chin and learn how to win. And that's what they're doing right now. So now it's a statement game. It's for number 1 seed in the AFC South against Jacksonville. I believe it's in Jacksonville next week. That is a big game. We haven't won in Jacksonville since God knows when. Jonathan Taylor, Big Q, the vets on this team are going to have to show up in a big way to make a statement. And honestly, I'm not feeling too bad about the outlook because from what I'm reading, Sauce Gardner's Achilles wasn't torn. That was a concern. It seems to be a calf strain is what we're thinking. That could be a couple-week injury. So we'll see. I hope at some point DeForest Buckner can get back. So if we could survive this dip and beat the Jaguars, then maybe we could find a way to keep scratching and clawing and win this division. Man, it's a big feeling from a couple of weeks ago, but that's what's the beauty of the NFL season is every single game matters. Guys, I'm curious what your thoughts are. Who gets your Curtis Painter Game Ball Award? What is your one-word reaction? What's your outlook on the season? Are you high? Are you low? Are you angry? Maybe that should have been my one word. Maybe I'm just going to change it right now. I'm more angry than I am disappointed because the refs, I never do this. But I feel like the refs kind of pulled the lever in today's game. Let me know all that in the comments below, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching the Common Colt podcast. We're going to beat our 10-minute timer. I hope you guys have a great day, and go Colts.